When the storm hits, when the winds rise, and the waves come crashing down, most people see destruction. But what if I told you that sometimes the same waves that knock you down are the ones God uses to lift you higher? My friend, God's favor doesn't come as a gentle drizzle. Sometimes it comes as a flood, a mighty tsunami that sweeps through your life and changes everything in its path. There are moments when you've prayed and waited, cried and believed, and it seems like nothing is happening. You look around and wonder if heaven has gone silent. But hear me. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean God isn't working. Beneath the surface, under the quiet waters, something powerful is building. Like a tsunami deep in the ocean, invisible to the eye, God's favor is gathering strength. And when it hits your life, it will not trickle in. It will overflow in ways you never imagined. Think back to Noah. The Bible says it had never rained before, yet God told him to build an ark. People laughed, mocked, and doubted. But Noah kept building, because faith often looks foolish before it looks miraculous. And when the flood came, it didn't come as punishment for Noah. It came as promotion. What destroyed others lifted him higher. That's what God's favor does. It takes what was meant to drown you and turns it into the very thing that carries you to your destiny. Maybe you've been through a season of loss, of waiting, of unanswered prayers. Maybe you've been working, believing, and trusting, and yet the breakthrough hasn't come. But I want you to hold on to this truth. God's delay is not His denial. He's preparing the magnitude of your miracle. Because when His favor comes, it won't come quietly. It will come suddenly, powerfully, overwhelmingly. It will flood your life like a tsunami, washing away every limitation, every disappointment, every lie that said you couldn't make it. There was once a young man who had nothing but a dream and faith in his heart. He faced rejection, failure, and loneliness. But every time life pushed him down, he kept believing that something greater was waiting. People called him unrealistic, foolish, knave. But he called himself chosen. And when the right time came, the doors that had been locked for years burst open in an instant. That's what happens when God's favor finds you. It breaks through the walls that human hands can't move. Some of you are standing in front of closed doors right now. You've tried everything you can. You've knocked, pushed, prayed, and it feels like heaven is quiet. But the God who parted the Red Sea doesn't need a door to bless you. He can make a way through the impossible. He can open opportunities that others said would never exist. His favor can rewrite your story in a single moment. There's a verse that says, "The flood came, and the ark was lifted high above the earth." That's what God's about to do in your life. He's about to lift you above the storm. You may have been overlooked, underestimated, or forgotten, but when the flood of His favor comes, you won't have to fight for recognition. God Himself will elevate you. You won't have to chase people's approval. His blessing will speak louder than any critic ever could. You see, when God's favor floods your life, it doesn't just bring blessings, it brings transformation. It doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. It washes away fear, guilt, and regret. It cleanses your heart from the residue of yesterday. It renews your faith and reignites your vision. Some people are afraid of floods. They think of destruction, loss, and chaos. But in God's kingdom, floods represent renewal. After the flood in Noah's time, the earth was reborn. Old things passed away, and new life began. That's what's about to happen to you. God is washing away the pain of the past and preparing a fresh beginning. New opportunities, new peace, new purpose. But you must be ready to receive it, because favor doesn't rest on the unprepared. God's blessing looks for a vessel that's built in faith, like Noah's Ark. You can't wait for the rain to start building. You have to prepare before it comes. Keep praying when no one sees it. Keep serving when no one thanks you. Keep believing when no one understands it. Because when the flood comes, those who were prepared will rise, while others are swept away. I believe with all my heart that some of you are standing right at the edge of that breakthrough. The water is rising. You can feel it in your spirit. The doors that have been closed are about to open. The favor you've been waiting for is about to overflow. You may have been in a season of silence, but heaven has been preparing your acceleration. Imagine this: a man standing on the shore, watching the waves roll in. At first they look small and harmless, but suddenly he sees the horizon shift. The ocean pulls back, and then it rushes forward with unstoppable force. That's what divine favor looks like. It builds quietly, then arrives with unstoppable momentum. No power on earth can stop it. And when that wave hits, everything changes. That sickness that seemed permanent suddenly disappears. That relationship that was broken begins to heal. That dream you thought was dead comes back to life. Because when God moves, He doesn't do it halfway. He doesn't just sprinkle blessings. He floods your life with them. The truth is, we serve a God of overflow, not of lack. He doesn't just meet needs. He exceeds them. He doesn't just open one door. He creates new ones. His favor multiplies, expands, and saturates every area it touches. So don't limit what He can do. Don't measure your future by what you see today. God's tsunami of favor doesn't need your logic. It needs your faith. He's not looking for perfect people. He's looking for believing hearts. And when He finds one, He releases waves of blessing that ripple far beyond one life, touching families, communities, and generations. You might not understand what God is doing right now, but you will. The same hands that allowed the storm are the hands preparing your elevation. Every setback, every delay, every closed door, they were all part of the buildup. Because when the flood of favor comes, it doesn't just lift you. It washes away everything that was holding you back. My friend, get ready. The tide is turning. The water is rising. The wave of God's favor is coming your way. And when it hits, your life will never be the same again. Would you like me to make this version sound even more voice over ready as for a short or YouTube motivational video with rhythm and pauses designed for narration? There are moments in life when everything feels still, almost too quiet. You've prayed, believed, waited, and yet nothing seems to be moving. It's as if heaven has pressed pause, and you find yourself wondering if God has forgotten you. But the truth is, silence is not absence. God's greatest works are often done in the hidden places, beneath the surface, where no one can see. Just as a tsunami begins deep under the ocean, where human eyes cannot reach, God's favor is forming in the depths of your life, long before it ever shows on the surface. You may not hear the sound of movement, but the divine current is shifting. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust that something is happening underground, That's faith, believing in what you cannot see. God's favor works the same way. Before it floods your life with blessings, it builds quietly, patiently, strategically. It gathers strength in the unseen. And when the time is right, it moves suddenly and powerfully in ways that no one can stop. Many people give up in the waiting season because they mistake God's silence for His rejection. But silence is often His strategy. It's in those quiet seasons that He's aligning your path, preparing the right people, and setting the stage for your breakthrough. The stillness is not punishment, it's preparation. The delay is not denial, it's divine timing. God knows that if favor comes too early, it can crush you instead of lift you. So He waits until your character, faith, and heart are strong enough to handle the flood that's coming. Think about Joseph. For years, he was hidden in prisons and forgotten by people. He could have thought that God had abandoned him. But what Joseph didn't realize was that every quiet year was a year of divine setup. God was working behind palace doors, preparing a position that only Joseph could fill. When the time came, the floodgates opened, and in a single day, Joseph went from prisoner to ruler. That's how divine favor works. It builds quietly and then bursts forth suddenly. The same is true for you. You may be in a season that feels still, but God's favor is not idle. It's growing in momentum. It's gaining strength under the surface. The silence around you is not a sign of God's inactivity. It's a sign that He's orchestrating something powerful. The ocean doesn't roar while the tsunami is forming. It's calm, deceptively calm. But when it finally arrives, nothing can stand in its way. That's how God's blessings move, quietly, then all at once. If you listen carefully in the silence, you'll sense it. A stirring in your spirit, a knowing that something is about to shift. You can't explain it, but you can feel it. That's the Holy Spirit whispering, "Hold on. I'm working beneath the surface." You may not see the outcome yet, but that doesn't mean it's not on its way. Faith is trusting that even in the silence, heaven is in motion. There's beauty in the hidden season. It's where strength is built. It's where faith becomes real. It's where dependence on God deepens. Because when you can trust Him in the silence, you'll be ready to carry His favor in the spotlight. If you skip the stillness, you'll miss the strength that comes from it. Every hero of faith endured a quiet season before their flood of favor came. David tended sheep before he wore a crown. Moses waited in the desert before leading Israel. Jesus Himself lived 30 silent years before His ministry began. The silence is sacred. It's where purpose matures. Sometimes God keeps you hidden to protect you. If the favor came too soon, you might attract battles you're not ready to fight. But in the waiting, He's building resilience, wisdom, and spiritual authority. He's preparing you to stand firm when the flood comes so you're not swept away by the very blessing He's sending. You're not being delayed. You're being developed. God's favor builds in silence because that's where faith learns to breathe. In the stillness, distractions fade, and your heart begins to tune itself to His voice. You start to see that His timing is not slow, it's perfect. You start to realize that what He's preparing is far greater than what you've been asking for. What feels like nothing happening is actually everything aligning. Heaven is engineering the details of your destiny with precision. One day, when the silence breaks and the flood of favor hits, You'll look back and realize why God took his time. You'll see how every delay protected you, every disappointment redirected you, and every quiet moment strengthened you. Because favor that floods must first be formed in faith, and faith is always built in the silence. Life has a way of bringing storms that seem designed to break you. There are seasons when the waves of loss, rejection, and failure crash so hard against your spirit that you can barely breathe. You cry out to God, wondering why He's allowing this storm to rage, why the struggle never seems to end. But what you don't see in those moments is that God is not trying to destroy you. He's positioning you for promotion. What looks like destruction is often construction. The very thing that feels like it's tearing you apart is the thing God is using to build your strength, your faith, your destiny. The same waves that threaten to drown you are the ones that will lift you higher. When Noah faced the flood, it wasn't meant to end his life. It was meant to begin a new one. While others saw the waters as judgment, for Noah they were favor. Those waves carried the ark to a higher place. That's how divine favor works. It doesn't always come wrapped in comfort. Sometimes it comes disguised as a storm. Sometimes it looks like chaos. But it's really the current of God's purpose, moving you towards something greater. You might be in a season right now where the winds are strong and the waves are violent. You may feel like you're sinking under the weight of pressure. But if you could see what God sees, you'd know that you're not drowning. You're rising. Every storm you've faced has been lifting you, even when it felt like it was breaking you. God uses adversity to elevate His people. He takes what was meant for harm and transforms it into a platform for His glory. Think about Joseph in the pit. His brothers threw him there out of jealousy, and for a moment it looked like his life was over. But that pit was a passage. It led him to the palace. The betrayal, the slavery, the prison, none of those things were the end. They were part of the process. What looked like destruction was really direction. God was guiding him through the storm, using each painful wave to carry him closer to his destiny. The same God who did it for Joseph will do it for you. The devil wants you to believe that your pain has no purpose. He wants you to think the storm will end you. But God uses what the enemy meant to destroy you as the very tool that defines you. The flood that was supposed to bury you becomes the force that lifts you into your calling. Every tear, every loss, every trial, none of it is wasted. God recycles pain into purpose. He transforms your brokenness into beauty. When you walk through deep waters, it's easy to focus on the storm. But if you shift your perspective, you'll realize that the same water that looks threatening is also the water that will carry you to safety. When the disciples were caught in a storm with Jesus asleep in the boat, they thought they were going to die. But that storm revealed something they could have never seen in calm weather: that even the wind and the waves obey Him. Sometimes God allows the storm not to destroy your faith, but to display His power through it. You may not understand it now, but the struggle you're in is serving you. It's refining you, shaping you, preparing you for what's next. God is not punishing you, He's positioning you. The storm that was sent to sink you is actually carrying you toward your breakthrough. When the winds rise against you, it's often a sign that your elevation is near. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't moving forward. The resistance you feel is proof that there's something powerful waiting on the other side. When you stand in faith during the storm, you're showing heaven that you trust the process. You're declaring that even when you can't see the outcome, you believe God is working all things together for your good. And when that wave of favor finally comes, it won't just restore what you lost. It will multiply it. The very waters that tried to overwhelm, you will become the waves that lift you into purpose. Because that's what divine favor does. It turns the weapon formed against you into the wind that carries you higher. When you look back over your life, you'll see that every season, the pain, the silence, the storms, was never wasted. Every tear watered the soil of your faith. Every disappointment dug the foundation for your breakthrough. Every closed door redirected you toward the one that God Himself would open. And when His favor comes, it will make sense why He took His time. Because God never gives ordinary blessings to those who have endured extraordinary battles. The greater the struggle, the greater the flood of favor that follows. There will come a day when the same people who doubted you will stand in awe of what God has done in your life. They will see that it wasn't luck, it wasn't coincidence. It was divine favor. You didn't get there by your strength. You got there by His hand. You didn't rise because of connections or talent. You rose because you trusted when it didn't make sense. That's what moves the heart of God. Unwavering faith in the middle of the unknown. God's favor is not random, it's purposeful. It doesn't visit those who chase the spotlight, but those who seek His presence. It doesn't fall on those who give up in the silence, but on those who keep building the ark even when the sky is clear. When you choose faith over fear, obedience over comfort, and trust over logic, you position yourself for the flood of divine favor. And when it comes, it won't come in pieces. It will come in waves. You'll see healing where there was once hurt. You'll see provision where there was once lack. You'll see peace where there was once chaos. Because when God moves, He doesn't just fix what's broken. He makes it better than before. The same storm that once terrified you will become your testimony. The same waters that once threatened you will become your pathway to destiny. There is a reason the Bible calls God's blessings pressed down, shaken together, and running over. His favor doesn't trickle. It floods. It saturates every area of your life, overflowing into your family, your finances, your future. It's unstoppable, undeniable, and unexplainable. You won't have to fight for recognition or chase after what's yours. God Himself will shine His light on you. His favor will speak for you, open doors you never knocked on, and bring opportunities you never planned for. So don't lose heart in the waiting. Don't curse the silence or fear the storm. What feels like the end is often the setup for something divine. God is faithful to finish what He starts. The flood of His favor is coming, not to drown you, but to lift you, to wash away the residue of your past and carry you into your purpose. Stay in faith. Keep your heart open. Keep your spirit ready. Because when the wave of God's favor hits your life, nothing